Welcome. Today we're joined by Sos Avetisyan, a member of the National Assembly for the ruling My Step parliamentary faction. Mr. Avetisyan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for hosting me.
The Collective Security Treaty Organization is a Russian-led military bloc which Armenia is a member of, and Azerbaijan is not. Yesterday, the secretary of the CSTO said that Armenia had not yet applied for a discussion to be held on the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, but since then that has happened. Why didn't the Armenian government immediately apply to the CSTO for this to occur?
Well, one of the things that we need to underline that the fighting is taking place along the side of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict line, and Armenian forces, the defense army of the Nagorno-Karabakh, is able to withstand the aggression of Azerbaijan on its own with the support of the Armenian volunteers that are going from our country there. And I think that there is no need, as of now, of applying to the CSTO for consideration. And we are assessing the military situation carefully to understand whether such step is necessary as of now or not.
Many see the peace talks as being dead in the water currently, but shortly after the 2018 Armenian Velvet Revolution, there was an optimistic sense about the negotiations going on. Some people accused Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, especially people from former ruling circles, of being too conciliatory when it came to the Karabakh issue. Do you think that this in any way is a reason for Pashinyan taking a tougher stance on Karabakh?
No, I don't think so. One thing that should be underlined that Pashinyan was constructive in his messaging, and as well as in his approach. It wasn't necessarily conciliatory. As of the former ruling regime, they were always, the Karabakh card has been instrumentalized in Armenian domestic politics all the time. But what was the problem was that Azerbaijan didn't want to kind of do a step forward. When Pashinyan declared that the solution should be acceptable for the Armenian public and the Nagorno-Karabakh public and the public of the Azerbaijan, this was not met properly. That is why, from a certain point of view, Armenia remaining very much constructive, remaining for peace, had to talk in a more concrete sense and bring some kind of newer understanding of the conflict resolution. But in essence, this was a constructive step that was not met by the Azerbaijani leadership, and we understand now why they just simply don't care about it very much.
So can you speak a bit about Russia's role in all of this? We know that former Russian president and current head of the Security Council in Russia has said that there can be no solution based on military force. There's also been calls from Russia for Turkey to not get too involved in the South Caucasus. How's the Armenian government cooperating with its number one security guarantor in order to alleviate the pressure on Armenia?
We have been speaking with our strategic partner all the time, and there were two phone calls at least between Pashinyan and Putin discussing the situation, and everybody in the world understands that there is no military solution to the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict except of two countries, that is Azerbaijan and Turkey. And there has been worrying rhetoric that Erdogan made a couple of days ago when they said that the conflict is going to be resolved in this way, that Azerbaijan is doing it on its own, and they need to basically depopulate Nagorno-Karabakh in order to resolve the conflict. When it comes to the Russia's role, we appreciate that they have been calling on peace as well as the ceasefire. At the same time, they called upon Turkey, Turkish involvement being very dangerous. That happened also in July, when there was aggression of Azerbaijan again on Tavush region. And also our other international partners, like United States State Department, made a statement which was hinting on Turkey not to be involved in this destabilization. But at the same time, the calls are one thing. The actual reality that is developing right now on the front line is quite different.
As you mentioned, many analysts have pointed to a marked change in the rhetoric coming out of Ankara, and many people are describing this as the lowest point in Armenian-Turkish relations. Does the Armenian government, the ruling party, how do they perceive Turkish relations now? We also have reports yesterday of an Armenian jet being downed by a Turkish jet. So in your mind, what does this mean for Armenian-Turkish relations?
Well, it is becoming quite apparent that we are not only fighting Azerbaijan, but we are fighting Turkey, and it's not only on the military terms, but also on the diplomatic and information warfare that is Turkey also involved, because they have been spreading disinformation about Armenia, for example, using mercenaries when it was them using mercenaries, bringing them from Syria, and Reuters already confirmed a couple of those cases, and more investigation is on its way. What is important for us to understand that currently Armenia and Armenians are protecting their right to live. Essentially, this is it. I mean, 100 years ago, now it's basically the same scenario, different rhetoric, different people. What is also important to note that both Erdogan and Aliyev are similar in their thinking of rally around flag, short-term gains, nationalism, boosting, all of that. So that kind of made this kind of alliance not only based on this country's strategic partnership, but also on the very personal level. But we should be very much concerned about Turkish destabilization in the world, because it was not, the South Caucasus is just part of the larger game that Turkey is playing. They've been doing this in the Mediterranean, in the Syria, and I think that the international community, as much as it is a bit sleepy right now, is waking up and understanding what is happening in actuality. So we need to keep the military balance and protect our right to live. The rest will be kind of cleared out after the war.
Well, the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh and also on the state border has really escalated, and the situation has completely changed. If and when the fighting does abate, do you think that a new approach or a different approach should be taken by the Armenian government when it comes to the Karabakh issue?
I think that the Armenian government, at least from the statements that we have made, also the head of the faction, the MyStep, is considering certain steps, such as fixing or forming a military agreement, a military security agreement with Nagorno-Karabakh, or all the way to recognizing Nagorno-Karabakh, because it's been too much of this negotiation and talks, which we were always constructive and we always wanted to find a way, and we were kind of creative also about this process. But what we see is just talking, and then all of a sudden people are just aggressively new aggressions we see. Right? Basically, there were talks, and then there was the July attack. There were talks, and now we have this. So I think that the situation, the military political situation, should be cleared out in the outcome of this war, and then perhaps negotiations, because every military situation ends with the negotiations. But what we are going to talk about is basically going to be in the aftermath of this escalation of this war, and that will determine the negotiation process.
Mr. Avetisyan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
And thank you for joining us on CivilNet.